Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome back to the Purpose Fitness Times Nutrition podcast. Today we're up to episode 17 and we're joined with our lucky guest, Brett. So today what we're going to do is discuss everything around flexible dieting, especially with females and the toxic mindset associated. So welcome, Brett.
Thanks very much for having me.
Pleasure to have you. Just want to know the viewers sort of where you come from, a little bit about you, sort of where you work from, and
Yeah, cool. So obviously you can tell from my accent I'm a Kiwi. So I studied for 5 years down at Otago University, South Island in New Zealand. So I did a degree in exercise and sports science. So moving over here, I kind of had not really an idea what I was going to do, but obviously the lines of personal training or coaching in that sense. So I've currently been on the coast now for going on 10 years. Been personal trainer at Good Life Robina for the last 7, going on 8 years.
Wow.
So
that's a long-lasting career, man.
Yeah, so definitely had my share of experience with different demographic clients, members, competition athletes, etc. as well. So a lot of experience all throughout those different facets.
Yeah, and you're also a bodybuilder yourself. You compete in the ICN over here?
Yeah, that's the one. So currently coming up to I think like 8 or 9 shows I think. So coming off season A got cancelled, backing up for season B. So
yeah, let's do
it that way.
So it's about 13 weeks now, isn't it?
Just done it, yeah, 13 and a half weeks I think. So feeling good.
Ticking away quick, isn't it?
Absolutely.
The year just flies. No, that's good. So the fitness industry has changed a lot over the 5 years. So, like you said, you've been in the game for a while.
Yes.
And for someone to stay at, especially Good Life, for that long, that's incredible. We see transitions, especially these days, that PT go in there. Now the gym rent is excessively high. We find PTs that go in and are done in the first 12 months.
Yeah.
They come in quick and you've been there for 7 years. So that is a true testament to you and your coaching ability.
Yeah.
And to retain the clients that you do.
Yeah, well, appreciate that for sure.
So that's why I called you in, because we follow you on socials and we see you put up so much good content. We see the relationship that you pull with your clients, and it's very fantastic to see. So the fitness industry over the last 5 years has really taken off. So obviously you've come from and you've seen different trends. Flexible dieting wasn't really around back 7 years ago, was it?
No, so I've probably kind of dabbled in it probably the last, not say dabbled in it, but like probably the last 5 or 6 years. So it kind of took off for me like 2013, 2014 is when I really kind of, there's a few of the OGs like Denver Stain and a few of the other guys that kind of got into it, and it kind of broadened my perspective on nutrition and that kind of avenue to go down, I guess, in that retrospect. So so especially I've seen in the last probably 2 years that the flexible dieting has just been, probably from what it was 5 years ago to what it is now with the help of social media. It's just completely skyrocketed. And along with that, as it skyrocketed and as social media has taken it, it's also got very good positive effects to it, but it's also carried a lot of negative, habits and mindsets around flexible dieting. And that's what we're going to get into today is, flexible dieting is beautiful, but if you utilize it correctly and create the healthy habits around it, but as well, if you use it the way that social media has portrayed it, and you use it without the knowledge behind it, you can create quite a toxic relationship with food. And Brett's very knowledgeable in this area, so we'll definitely hit him up with some questions. So we put up on our socials, as always, a few question polls, and me and Brett have sat down and we've come up with a few questions ourselves that we think would really help you guys as the viewers. So Brett, what is your opinion on the flexible dieting as a whole? As a whole, I think it's an avenue that allows people to have a flexible approach to nutrition, dieting, creating healthier habits as well. However, as you mentioned about before, it can have the inverse effect where it does actually end up being more restrictive for some people than the actual method behind what flexible dieting should be. So as opposed to being a flexible nutritional approach, it confines people to numbers, confines people to and like you said, it does become a little bit toxic to some people. So having the knowledge behind it and applying certain principles to it, that's what makes it, I feel, a very sustainable method in the long term.
Yeah, definitely. If you create that healthy relationship with it and you learn how to, you know, keep the balance between lifestyle and then also obtaining results,
Yes.
which it comes down to experience and knowledge. And as me and Brett were talking before, we both compete in the bodybuilding scene. And you know, we've transitioned from living a life like normal human beings, where we can go out, we're going to have grilled. I know you love grilled.
Yeah.
Seen on your stories a few times this week.
Yeah, it's where my money goes.
And you know, but then we also have times where we're completely disciplined and we're strict. So we're 100% strict on the plan. There's no variations. There's no chocolates. You know, we're very strict, and we can become quite obsessive with our numbers in that point in time. But it's about learning to create that lifestyle, and I think that's where it's going to be good for you viewers to listen in, because me and Brett come from that experience where we can snap out of that lifestyle and come back into a general population clientele kind of lifestyle where you can learn that balance and you know, go out and enjoy times with partners, friends, or family. So which will take us on to the next sort of question. So the biggest thing, well, what is the biggest thing when you take on a client for the first time? What are the biggest, I guess, behaviours or traits that you pick up from first-time clientele?
I think like one of the biggest things is actually trying to just get an understanding of their actual habits that they do on a daily basis. So I won't even really talk too much about their training or even go too much into their specific diet itself, but just kind of look at their day-to-day habits, what they're doing, general activity, you know, how often they may dine out, maybe the quality of their food, like just like, do you have 2 to 3 servings of vegetables or fruit a day, where your protein sources come from, and this is kind of stripping it back to the basics of nutrition, right? Yeah. As opposed to, first of all, it'd be like, how many calories do you think you have a day? And they're like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, majority of the gym don't.
And they're like, well, what's this fucking MyFitnessPal? You know, so I think just stripping it back and kind of, you know, I spoke on it the other day where we were talking about majoring, like in the majors, like focus on those key fundamentals of what consists of a good nutritional diet overall.
Yeah.
And then on, you know, working with them week to week, you know, month to month, like kind of adding things in, drip feeding them a bit more into a little bit more specificity with a few other things, but yeah, we don't want to overwhelm them. I think that's the biggest thing people think.
Yeah, exactly. You know, when people come to us, they come to us because they need help, they need guidance. And you know, majority of the people that I work with as well, you know, when they come to us, they lack a lot of knowledge in the industry, and it's quite normal because, you know, they're not trained professionals. You know, so the biggest thing is keep it simple. Now, I guess what you could sort of refer to is back, well, I'm not sure over New Zealand because you've done your school over in New Zealand, but here in Australia, but we have the same, New Zealand and Australia have the same food standard code. Now in schools, they actually teach us about the food standards. So I guess the best advice, and you might agree with me, is to keep it, like you said, focus on the macros and not the micros. You know, the biggest thing with food standards is they teach to have a balanced diet. So make sure you're getting your vegetables, make sure you're getting your decent source of fibers, keeps with the grains, your legumes, etc. like that. You know, if pretty much dieting is very simple. Just keep it to a good variety and keep it to the basics, and don't stress about the little numbers. You know, the little numbers are for us to take care of and you to not stress about, especially in the coaching space. And I guess the more you delve into, you know, athletic performance and competition prep, you'll look at more those minor numbers.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. I was just saying as well, it's kind of like, you know, when you're going for your driving lesson to start with, right? They don't just throw you on a highway and just kind of let you go and make sure you don't crash. You're there with a driving instructor. They're there to guide you. They're there to kind of tell you the base, like the principles of how to drive a car.
Yeah.
You know, so I think like you said, kind of holding their hand through it, I think is very important, especially from a coach's perspective. I know I've seen kind of a few people or coaches as well that do try to just throw a lot of their clients in the deep end straight away, and they're like, fucking sink or swim, bro. And it's kind of like, well, they're kind of paying you to or help them out from the basics. So you just want to strip it back. You want to guide them through it. And I think, you know, having more so a white belt mentality as a coach.
Yeah.
When you work with people, don't just assume everybody knows about MyFitnessPal about through your socials, because majority of our ones are probably filled with either food, training videos, and other people like ourselves, where a lot of the people that come to us as coaches through those general pop gyms, etc. as well, have very little understanding compared to a lot of other people. So I think, like I said, strip it back to the basics, and that's what is a good start before overwhelming people with all those numbers and shit.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's a very smart tactic. And to touch on that, we're talking about focus on the macros. For the viewers who don't know what we're talking about in terms of the macros, what are some forms of micros that you would say not to stress about right now?
I put a post up the other day, and it's kind of like things like nutrient timing, fasted cardio, like, when's the best time to eat. Little things like this, where the importance of having quality food, focusing on overall daily calories if you can, or as I said, that's kind of what we take care of initially. If people are ahead of the game and can work with MyFitnessPal, etc., that's fine. But yeah, just go on the majors.
Yeah,
it makes life a lot easier.
Yeah, and for people out there, because I know a lot of females and males as well who constantly don't understand whether should they be tracking sweeteners, should they be tracking the one-off copy that they have, should they be tracking supplementation. We have certain supplements like BCAAs and EAAs that contain 10 calories.
Yeah.
10 calories, which we know to our bodies ain't going to do much.
Of course.
So what would be your advice to a general pop clientele or client who is stressing about all these figures like vitamins, supplementation, sweeteners, on tracking those?
To be honest with you, I'm only concerned of those if you're like a physique competition athlete. You know what I mean? If you're focusing on the littlest, you're a couple calories over here, or I wasn't sure how much that weighed, it might be a couple grams off, etc. as well. That, as you said about the vitamins, etc., that's at the back burner of things. People need to get a grasp of the bigger things that influence our total nutritional habits, etc. as well, that are the most important. So I wouldn't worry too much about your sweeteners, the calories that are in EAAs, etc. from an initial perspective, okay?
Yeah.
People need to focus on the overall, so total calories, getting them from wholesome, nutrient-rich foods, good protein sources, etc. as well. Those are the majors.
Yeah, exactly. And just to go back, you just touched on nutritional value and getting it up there. With flexible dieting, I'm sure you've seen it in your eyes too. I come across a lot of social media pages and general pop that this is where the negative side to flexible dieting comes, where they think, I can eat flexible as long as I stick to my numbers, I'm going to get my result. But they don't understand blood sugars, insulin, cholesterol, overall well-being, gut health.
Yes, of course.
And we see on the social media aspect where we're just seeing chocolate, donuts, burgers, chips, but they go, I've hit my numbers, I'm healthy.
Yeah.
Yes, they might look good, but they're not taking into consideration their gut health.
Yeah, of course. So I think from that, flexible dieting can definitely be taken to the extremes in regards to, I kind of say, a lot of people seem to be taking the piss a lot lately in regards to, as long as I hit my carbs, my fats and my protein, sweet, However, they do forget about the way that those particular, the quality of food affects your energy levels, your performance, as your gut health, other important things. So obviously having a fiber target, you'll notice people that do know MyFitnessPal, there's a fiber target that you can kind of hit as well.
Yeah.
And they, a rough kind of example is between I say between 12 to 15 grams per 1,000 calories, I kind of say. If you're getting that amount of fiber into your diet, it's actually going to mean that you are getting a wholesome, nutrient-rich foods as well, which take care of a lot of those micronutrients that help with a lot of the health benefits.
Yeah.
You'll notice a lot of people, you could, 5-10 grams of fiber in a day for some people. That's if you're eating, shit quality processed things. And we have that principle where we say, I like to say 80% wholesome, nutrient-rich foods, 20% like fun foods, right?
Yeah.
So, I still like my burgers, and some people go, oh, all I see you eating is like, you know, burgers or donuts or whatever. It's like, that's a small part of my nutritional daily intake. You know, some people say, why do people post it? Because people want to see fucking donuts and stuff like that. You know, we do have a backlog of, you know, good sources of protein, good sources of vegetables, good sources of fruit, etc. as well, which are very important. So
so over a weekly period, I'm sure that you work on a weekly basis.
Yes,
you plan ahead of time, and that's why you're so good and you get the success in the results that you do. And I guess it's kind of a behavioural habit that you've created for yourself, like me as well. We work on a weekly basis, so that way we're ahead of time. You know, we've planned ahead and we've got our week. I'm pretty sure you're going to be very consistent on your diet.
Yes.
Yep. So you're not constantly changing variables all the time. So with that, you know, you've set your week out. You've already calculated your calories for the week. That way you've budgeted and you've worked out that you can have that meal off. But you've got all that good nutrients from the week before, the days that you've trained, that it's going to be okay.
Yeah, 100%. And like you were saying, people kind of think that because it says flexible in the term flexible dieting, it does not mean you are flexible every single day.
Yes.
I've seen the best results with clients and with athletes, etc. as well. They've followed a structured eating plan kind of Monday through the rest of the week. The idea behind flexible dieting, I feel, is that if you may be caught out, if you want to change up a few foods every now and again, you can easily kind of swap things in and swap things out so you do hit your particular targets that you're trying to hit, as opposed to kind of taking the piss a bit and just trying to fit in whatever you like, or just hold out all day just so you could have, you know, 4 burgers and 3 chips and, you know, a McFlurry at the end of the day.
Which creates, you know, eating disorders.
Of course it does. I've seen it, you know, especially coming from the bodybuilding industry, etc. as well, where those... You can go through the factor of like the deprivation of those kind of things as well in flexible dieting, or from a particular food plan. But the starve, binge, just because you can fit those foods into your total calories, but you just kind of condense them just because you wanted those particular items. It's not healthy, I feel, from a health standpoint, but from a mental standpoint, it definitely creates habits that are not, or which are going to be, I've seen, are very detrimental to not only females but plenty of males as well. And that really circulates through that. So that's probably that negative aspect of flexible dieting, where you can kind of, sure, you can hit your numbers however you like, but it's the way you're kind of hitting them that has that detrimental effect. On, you know, mental health and obviously normal health as well. Yeah,
exactly. It creates those unhealthy traits that we don't want. So talking about traits, what are the best behaviours and traits that you try and push onto your clientele to adapt in order to, one, have a healthy relationship with food, but obtain overall success whilst with you?
I think just having that understanding of, like, you know, general energy balance is very important. I think everybody should know that. I don't feel that I force, you know, like MyFitnessPal or tracking onto every single person, because one size does not fit all. And that, like I said, with more structure, people can have attain better results. But from like a lifestyle perspective as well, a lot of people, like we're saying, a lot of people just major too hard in the minors, and they miss out a lot of social occasions and things like that with friends and family. And if you're avoiding that just for the sake of looking a particular way, unless obviously if you're in a bodybuilding competition, that's a little bit different, but it can be detrimental if you are just avoiding dinner with your friends because, you know, I can't fit that into my macros or whatever, etc. as well. There's skills that you can apply to make that you know, more sustainable for and progressive for your results. But I think just having that balance between the two is important, but majoring in, as I said, total calories for the day, having a good number of protein sources throughout the day, and then just having that relationship with friends and family members, which over that COVID period kind of stuck out of it for a lot of people too.
Yes, definitely. To touch on the behaviours and traits, do you believe that, you know, having a routine and a structure, you know, planning ahead of the time is a good trait to have?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Just because you know how to flexible diet doesn't mean you have to like change everything up like we said about earlier. I think having structure within knowing your lifestyle, your work, obviously your training, things like that, the better structure you have, the less chance you are of going off the rails.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
And that's when we talk about routine and things like that. So everybody's going to be slightly different, but the people that I work with, you know, it's called personal training for a reason, because it is personable for everybody. It's not, as I said, tracking macros isn't going to be for everybody. They may prefer to follow a food plan, but slightly educating them is very important. Some people work night shifts, some people work day shifts. It's different for everybody. So one size does not fit all, but people can get to their goals through different methods with our guidance as coaches as well.
Yeah. But the principles along the journey, in whatever way, whether you do strict or flexible,
yes,
the principles are the same.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely.
You got to master those habits and those traits in order. No matter what plan you do, if you don't have that good relationship with food, or you do those good traits and behaviours around it, habits is what we call it, and no matter what choice you have, you still will never hit your results. So, like Brett just said, it's important to focus on the macros and mastering those habits as well. Now, to touch on habits as well, how important is consistency? Consistency is a bit of a habit.
Yeah, of course.
I personally deal with a lot of people who come to me for the first time and think that they're going to get a new plan every single day to follow for a new variety of food.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
so do you want to just elaborate on why is it so important and why do we preach to be consistent?
Yeah, of course. I said it, it's that old saying don't fix something that's not broken, right? So, look at it from a perspective of a over time basis. If you're more consistent than you are perfect, right? You're going to make long-term results because, we know how it is. We can all just go knuckle down, 100%. But we eventually get burnout. So
yes.
I think just being consistent, being consistent does not mean being 100% all the time. But it does mean consistently getting better, consistently improving,
yep.
and consistently progressing in, different facets of your health and fitness journey, whether that may be like, hitting your 10,000 steps a day. That could just be the first task I get somebody to do. Then we might not even talk on nutrition. The next one, that it might be just hitting their total calories for the whole week and just seeing that line where on MyFitnessPal where they've hit their calories. So it's just being consistent in those little things, and when they all add up, that builds a consistently healthier lifestyle.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. All right, just to sort of touch on, we'll go through a few of the questions from the viewers. You've hit off the, not one size fits all. To touch on that, do you encourage people to go out and be a little bit flexible, to go out and enjoy? So obviously you're not going to do everyone on flexible diet, and you've got some people on strict. Do you encourage those people to, still get out?
Yeah, absolutely. I touched on it the other day, it's not just on one of my posts, where if you are that strict with certain aspects of nutrition, etc., it does tear you away from things that are very important in your life, which are family and friends, social occasions, things like that.
Yeah.
Flexible dieting does allow you that ability to be able to do that and still stay on track. So like I said, having an understanding of that can be super beneficial, but it's not like you have to. I've got clients that, they just won't track, okay? Which is fair enough. I've got plenty of people that have come to me in that certain circuit stuff, but they have an idea of energy balance. So in the sense of if they were following a food plan, I might just get them to bank calories. They might drop out 2 or 3 meals so they can kind of save it. And then not to stress over it. Like, if you've either put a meal in, don't worry about if you're going to go out, put a meal in from MyFitnessPal or whatever, you've taken some meals out to swap those calories out for. Just put it in and just get on with the rest of your life,
Yeah.
Get on with enjoying your time with friends and family members. Don't stress. Like, it's those things there just create that bad relationship with food and like I said, even for myself, I've gone through it where I would just avoid social occasions because I'll be like, I can't fit that in. Like I don't even know the macros of the menu. Like I'm sure plenty of viewers will be like exactly in the same boat. And I call it like food and social anxiety.
Yes.
Where it's like, oh man, like, and you're kind of like, oh fuck, I hope they don't put oil on my thing, or I hope they don't bring it out covered in all this dressing, etc. There's little things that you can do to account for that, as I said, banking calories or just guesstimating, etc. But you don't have to be perfect, like we say. Just be consistent, and just enjoy things as well. We're not bodybuilding athletes, or a lot of people. Sorry, we are at certain times, but general pop people as well. We are looking for results, but we you don't need to be to the gram all the time. It will just suck the life out of you. For sure.
And then 3 years will go past and you've been drawing every number, and then you go, oh, where's my life gone?
100%.
You spend your life in your phone tracking every number. And that's why it's important to, like we said, create the habits and create the routine where you can plan ahead of time. So I know already that me and my partner go out for a dinner on a Saturday night or on a weekend, and then we can budget for a breakfast. I don't count it. I just eat it.
For sure.
But at the end of the day, that goes back to being consistent, because I do that every week. So it's always going to be the exact same sort of principle that happens. So it's creating that routine and being consistent on it. And I smash out my training Monday to Saturday. So that way it's on point. And that's what we need to preach to you viewers, is to get out there. If you're not in prep and you're just living life, to still create that balance. But it's the difference of doing it every day to then doing it every now and again.
Like we say, it's called an occasion for a reason. It does not. Occasion doesn't mean every single night, or but like you're saying, with the flexible dieting principles behind it, budgeting calories, guesstimating certain foods to go in, subbing foods in and out of your food plan if that's the way that you're doing it, just makes life a lot more enjoyable in this sense. Because as I said, we're here to live life, not to just kind of count every single macro and avoid social occasions. I've been there and it fucking sucks.
It does. And I spent probably 9 months in a prep. It wasn't fully prep, it was off season, but 9 months of being disciplined. And it doesn't just destroy yourself, it destroys everyone around you who wants to be personable with you. So
and that's one of the biggest things here. If you choose a journey that takes you further away from things that add value to your life, such as friends, family members, social occasions, you've got it around the wrong way. You know what I mean? Like, your grandma doesn't care if you've got a six-pack or not, but she'll care if you don't turn up to her 90th birthday and have a bit of cake with her or something like that. So just like got to have that balance.
That's what it's all about, especially if you're in that gen pop lifestyle, But as we said, in athletic times, and if you're doing it for an athletic performance or comp prep, it's important that you that's why we work with coaches, because they advise when to have those meals and when not to have those meals. Now, just to sort of wrap it up, the biggest thing that we find with flexible dieting and creating a toxic lifestyle and mindset, you'll see it yourself. We will see our clientels get huge fluctuations in body weight. For females, menstruation cycles, or if they drink a bit of alcohol, they get the huge water retention. And we see big changes in scale weight on a week-to-week basis. Why is it important to not let the scales defeat us, and why is it important to stay calm? And why does our body fluctuate? Is it fat? Is it muscle? What is it?
Sure. So it's definitely a daily occurrence or a daily morning message. Be like, oh shit, I put on 4 kgs of fat overnight. Like, there is no way that has happened. So obviously, like you're saying, there's certain principles that kind of may affect your weight, right? So whether that may be the time of month for females, what time you ate dinner, did you have a meal beforehand, did you exercise before you trained? That's why I say, if you're going to weigh yourself, try being consistent with it. So first thing in the morning, etc. as well. But as well, like we were talking about, I put a post up yesterday, and it was basically the numbers for probably the last probably month or something, or 5 weeks, because I'm competing. All the numbers of how much I weighed each day. Now I don't look at those numbers and become emotionally attached to them.
Yeah.
Okay, it's quite hard, but look at it from an objective perspective, and that is data to kind of just show you where the trend is going.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not a daily. Look at it from a weekly average. So I kind of get people to generally weigh themselves most days. Say if you weigh yourself 7 days a week, divide that weight, add it all up, divide it by 7, and that will give you your average.
Yeah.
So that gives you a bit more of a true indication, and it kind of irons out those fluctuations. But like we were saying before, there's so much more to progress than what the number on the scale says.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, whether it's the way that you look, you see yourself in the mirror, the way that clothes fit, the compliments you get. We said as well before, like, if you're sleeping better, you've got a better relationship with food, you're getting more fruit and vegetables, that's progress.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be like a specific number. So
if you've gone from being, depressed or down about yourself to now being a 10 out of 10 in your mood, and you're always happy, energetic, if you're not constipated or you don't have huge bloating issues, and now you process it and your digestion is on track, these are all forms of progress.
100%. And I say to people, particularly if you've got a number in your head, just as a general perspective, but I guarantee when you get to a number, right, it will not determine if you're like, it's not going to all of a sudden just make you happy.
No.
You know what I mean? If you haven't adopted those habits we spoke about, the routine, which is going to make you feel better, eating better quality foods, enjoying social occasions, applying those principles of flexible dieting so you can be more social, stay on track with your goals. The number on the scale doesn't mean, it's not going to define your emotional state. It shouldn't.
No.
You know what I mean? It's data for you and your coach. But there's a lot more to progress than just the number and those fluctuations.
Yeah, and it takes time. People get on the scales after 1 week and go, hasn't moved. If you're being constipated or you've got huge bloating issues, you haven't been sleeping, your stress is through the roof, you've gone from barely eating and then now you're eating and, your first week in, you can't imagine everything's going to be making progress already. What happens is your body creates a negative feedback system, and it's what we call homeostasis. It's where it balances the nitrogen balance in the body and gets everything back to a level of balance. Homeostasis.
Yes.
That has to occur before anything can shift in the body.
Yeah.
And if you're still bloating and everything else like that, you can't picture that your weight's going to, automatically drop that 10 kilos. You've got to balance everything out and get everything on point and fix every area of health rather than just the scale weight.
Yeah, for sure. But like you're saying, it's a process and it's over time.
Yeah.
So, like, daily fluctuations, they don't mean shit.
No,
you know what I mean?
Like we said, macro.
Yeah, exactly.
Micro.
Over the whole perspective of things, and that's why we kind of look at it from a weekly or a monthly. Or that's why often we'll get some clients will want that accountability and may check in every week, but generally every fortnight. That's when we may make amendments if we need to. But if you don't give yourself that time, I've had people before that have had we've had 2 weeks, right? And you've probably seen it too, when nothing's happened. Then I'll be like, all right, we'll give it another week and see what happens. And then all of a sudden the scale, they just start dropping.
Just be boom,
straight away. Yeah. It doesn't happen overnight. It's that consistency. But like I said, it's feedback too. So we can make educated decisions from our clients to the best course of action from there as well.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, by the looks of that sums up all our questions for the day.
Yep.
But Brett, thank you for coming on to the channel.
My pleasure, man.
It's been
Thanks
a pleasure to have you. We always love to have a Kiwi accent on the channel. But guys, that concludes episode 17. Once again, thank you, Brett. Make sure you follow him on Instagram. He has some great ways around flexible dieting and simple cheats. If you want an ice cream, he's got some, paddle pops with 79 calories the other day. He gives you really good tips about that. So, make sure you give him a follow and check out his content as well. But guys, stay tuned for next week's episode.